Hi and welcome. I'm Angela, and today I'm doing the third video on health miracles, or basically how to work with medical people you can't stand. And some of the previous videos, I've mentioned some of my health crisis that I had with cancer, and that was 5 years ago. So this video, I want to share what I learnt about when we have a health crisis and how to work with focusing on what you really want as a solution versus going into helplessness or passivity or victim behavior. Everybody else is blaming, everybody else is creating this problem. And so you don't take action when you're in a health crisis. And I know when you're sick, when I had the cancer and I was in hospital for 10 weeks, I was very disabled and very non-functional and unconscious at times. So I understand when you're sick that you do have less capacity to think and to focus. And I understand that that is a part of sickness. What I have learned also is that sometimes when you're sick, you have an opportunity to see when you are really perceiving yourself as helpless and also not responsible in making change in your life. And it doesn't mean that you're avoiding responsibility, because when you're sick, you can't make changes. In my situation, I couldn't move. So a lot of people have illnesses where they can't move, they can't think, they can't breathe well, they can't digest, they can't function. But our perception of ourselves in that time is going through enormous provocation. You're being provoked to really see what you think about yourself, your capacities. And I watched in the hospital a lot of rehab specialists and how they worked with people who were quite ill, elderly or mentally not functional, sort of functioning but not really, and disgruntled because they didn't want to move their bodies. And I saw some of the rehab specialists do amazing work with getting people to try something, even though every part of you is like not interested in trying. So that's a part of being sick. For me, what I really learnt through all the prayer work, or if you think about manifesting something, an outcome that you want, or you want to work with health, or you want to get better health, or you're seeing yourself at a lower level than your desired outcome, what we normally do when we pray or we focus on a positive outcome is we see ourselves healthy. But what happens, for example, when you have a situation where bad things happen to you in the health crisis, such as bad medical professionals, okay? Because our habit is, when we're in states of being ill, grumpy and disagreeable, is to get crabby, angry, blaming, judgmental, and get me the hell out of here. I don't want to deal with this person. And we sort of start, in my experience, I've seen a lot of this all my life because my parents both had cancer. My father was very different to my mum, which I'll touch on later, because they both taught me. But I saw when we really don't like doctors and we get really upset. So our tendency then at that point is to start criticizing and judging the medical professional. Can be anybody, can be a physiotherapist, anyone who doesn't fix your problem. And we also start to say words like, they didn't do this, they don't know anything, they told me this, it's useless information. We come up with a whole list of phrases that I've heard the whole gamut. And I know that up from myself, but because I've been around a lot of people who have ill health. And I see what happens when we feel very helpless. We start to get judgmental or scared, basically, and we start judging. So in my circumstance, sorry, it still makes me laugh, I had a run-in with a doctor, and I'll share for you, why does it happen if we're focusing on positive outcomes for our health? Why do we come up across a negative experience with a medical professional, or maybe you took some supplement and it didn't work and you're now angry at the person for recommending that supplement. Why does that happen? And the short version, if you want to just hear that, is because we have a perception of ourselves as not agents of our own life. We hand it over to someone else and we doubt that we're capable enough to actually get what we want. We might blame the universe or circumstances. We might think, woe is me, why did this happen to me? Things don't work out for me. And we have these beliefs about ourselves and things not working for us. But ultimately, the next layer is we don't believe in ourselves. And that keeps on repeating in these negative circumstances and negative medical people that we start to blame and complain about. And in my case, have a new perception about eventually when I stopped judging the medical professional. So in my case, the first time I ran into this surgeon, I guess, was I was supposed to get maybe a biopsy before they had removed my cancer from the uterus. And I was very scared about that because some of the medical people had already mentioned that if they did a biopsy, it could spread the cancer. And my cancer was already growing in the ovaries and exploding, growing rapidly. So I was terrified of getting this biopsy. So while I was in that room, this doctor was sort of tone deaf to the sort of vibe I was having, didn't listen to my worries. And also his support team, there was like about 7 people, I think. Some were in a scan box and other people were in the room with the surgeon. They were also delaying the whole thing. They were not going ahead with it because they were waiting for confirmation from my main surgeon, who had thought about the biopsy but was umming and ahhing about it. And this other surgeon was gung-ho, and he wasn't reading my concern, and there was concern in the room as well, because they also maybe, I can't really work it out what they were thinking, but my feeling was that they were not so sure about doing the biopsy because the head surgeon hadn't given the go-ahead. And my feeling is that they may also have that same insecurity that if they did a biopsy, could have made the cancer grow or spread faster. And so we were waiting in this tense room for the go-ahead. I can't remember the time frame. It seemed like a long time. But you can imagine in my head, I was attacking that doctor thinking, what an idiot. What doesn't he know how terrified I am or how terrible this could be? And he was sort of pushing to get it over and done and get his job done. And I did have a bad opinion about him at that stage. I've forgotten his name because I didn't want to know his name at that point. And then a couple of weeks later, I forget the time frame, when I almost died, I had a clot very close to my heart, and I basically was going to collapse. And I can't remember, I didn't go unconscious, but they were putting me in another opportunity to do a surgery procedure where they put a tube inside and extract the clot. They basically have this very fancy instrument that goes through your artery, I think, and up to the heart and dissolves the clot so it won't go into the heart and give you a heart attack. And so to do that procedure, guess who was the doctor that I had to see while I was conscious again? Looking up at this doctor, I saw the same face and the same, oh my God, I have to deal with this person. Not happy. I was not happy, but I couldn't breathe. I was thinking I might not make it. And I at that stage went, Angela, this is what you've got to deal with it, get on with it. So the procedure is quite challenging, and I had all the fluid in my lungs. I couldn't breathe. As they insert the tube, I had to inhale, and I couldn't really breathe, couldn't hold my breath, but I had to do it while they slowly, they put it in through your leg and up to the heart. And it was a very long procedure. And the whole time I'm struggling to breathe and hold my breath. And I'm watching this doctor the whole time because I had to be conscious so I could hold the breath so they could move it up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy has my life in his hands. And I was also very happy that with each breath, he was encouraging me in a certain tone, whereas previously the other time I was really angry. This time he was just very, very focused on saving my life, and he did. So at the end, I looked at him in wonder, seeing his artistry with his work, his dedication, his focus. My whole perception changed, and I realized, why is this happening to me? And I asked him, how do you do this? I was actually in awe, and I said, I'm so grateful, thank you. This is amazing. How do you do this? He completely brushed off any gratitude or any compliments. He just said, I just stand on the shoulders of great people who came before me. And that's connecting to some of the other videos I shared. In the hospital, I saw that doctors understand that they are not alone in what the work they do, and they are about service. So I learnt from him. He was one of the people that taught me about service. Because of his focus and dedication, he was able to save my life, even though I thought very bad thoughts about him previously. And then later I got to contemplate, and this was years later as well as in the hospital, why did that happen? Why did I have that stark contrast of really disliking this person and then loving this person? And I realized that the reason that happened was that part of my healing was to see that what had happened to my mum and dad when they went into hospital was quite terrifying. Just to summarize it, it was 20 years before I got sick. My mum was in hospital, and about so it's almost 30 years mum was before me, and then almost 16 years dad was in that same hospital where I was being treated. My parents were both treated, and my mother was pretty much treated badly by medical professionals. They didn't believe her and they put her down. And with my father, there was really good treatment, but there was a lot of sadness in his whole, as most people who are dying, it's a sad sort of experience. And I watched dad being sad a lot. So I was there feeling, oh my God, I'm going to end up like them. And that was very transparent to me from the moment I got into the hospital. But I saw all of that fear that I wouldn't make it. And I started to associate my moment with their experience, and I couldn't disassociate. So what I studied was, how was it manifesting that I got a bad experience with a doctor, but then I completely changed my perception of this person when I stopped judging him? It was also me seeing that in my frame of mind, I was looking at myself as a victim of the cancer, as someone who ended up in a negative experience, and therefore somehow maybe I was a bad person, maybe my life wasn't really that important, maybe my life wasn't really worth living. I had a lot of these perceptions, and that was compounded by seeing my parents go through what they went, and I was still carrying that. And this is where the Avatars Sri Ammabhagavan have really helped me to start see what are the negative perceptions that live in me like unwelcomed tenants in a building, or they're living there unconsciously or even subconsciously. Maybe they're a little bit close to the surface, but I don't really see them. So the hospital experience got me to see them. And even years after, I keep seeing things. I keep seeing, wow, I really thought this about my life. I saw myself as passive in the situation. I saw myself as, in the first instance with the biopsy, not able to speak up, not able to get what I wanted. I had perceptions that I couldn't make a difference in my health journey. And I also saw that that first biopsy I was terrified about, maybe it was just I had to really re-experience the fear of not being in control. A lot of the fears we have when we're sick are what we start to see playing out, but because we're unwell, we can't see them. And after the cancer, I started to review. And as I got better, my brain function started to improve, and I could review things and start to see, wow, I really had a limited sense of myself. And if I didn't have that experience with the doctor, I couldn't stand, and then see him save my life, I would have seen myself as still someone at the mercy of bad doctors, or someone that maybe wasn't being listened to by the bad doctors, rather than seeing I was holding these perceptions that the doctor wasn't going to listen to me. The doctor isn't able to help me here, therefore he's a bad person or she's a bad person. And all of those perceptions that we have don't just operate when we're sick, they operate outside of hospital. So for me, the hospital journey was so valuable. And because I work with Soma and the teachers and Avatars Sri they help me to see what is it that I don't see. What is it that perceptions about miracles or health or a positive outcome that I want to have in my life that isn't happening. So because of the Soma, I've been able to, sometimes I'll see the root cause of why I might be blocking a certain health process, a health outcome that I want, or a certain miracle that I want, or a certain outcome. I'll be able to see what is blocking there. Other times with the Soma, it's more about just allowing the Soma to dissolve the fear or the anxieties about who you are and how you operate in the world. And that's been a very big shift. So the anxieties for me with the Soma now are just not operating in the same way. They can arise, but they don't go on like an incessant rabid monkey, like when that doctor was trying to do the biopsy on me. That doesn't operate. So Soma in many ways starts to dissolve the patterns, the programs we call it, that operate unconsciously in your ways of thinking and feeling about yourself. So to finish with the medical healings that you might want to manifest, here is another piece of advice, and take it or leave it, is to study when you start judging medical professionals, because when you're sick, it's easy to be grumpy. But how much is your judgment about the person who might be there to reflect something back to you? You don't know what they're there for to reflect to you. If you get a bad doctor who's not listening, you've always got a choice in some countries to find different doctors. In other circumstances, they might be reflecting something back to you about your perception about health, about yourself and your ability to get health, or to be proactive in your circumstance, to have choice, or on a really fundamental level, to be listened to so you can get the information you need, or you can get the clarity that you need. Too often we've seen medical professions as people that should fix us, and that's changing now, but we still have this expectation they should be this way, they should do this, they should somehow give us a magic pill that fixes us. And since the pandemic, we're changing our perceptions about health and what's our role in that picture. And one of them is the way you think about your capacities to focus on positive outcomes. And when things are negative, thoughts in yourself or someone's negative externally, to start looking internally and going, well, why am I so upset about this? What's making me upset? Because there's something there to help you in your healing process when you're upset. That's my advice. And then if you want to try the Soma, we have a spectacular event that will be transmitting the energy from the Avatars Ammabhagavan through the event, online and in person in Sydney. So I've got the links in the description of the video. It's happening this Sunday, November 3rd in Sydney, Australia. You can join online, and if you're in the US, it'll be 8 p.m. EST and 5 p.m. PST. And I look forward to joining you there. We're going to do a special blessing for Australia and New Zealand for wealth and abundance. And abundance is also about the health of how you feel about health and your capacity to focus on what you want in your health and your ability to create that for yourself and receive the support that you need from others because you believe that it's available for you. That's the last thing I'll share. Because of my parents' experience, not having the joy in their journey. For me, it was an extraordinary gift to go through the sickness in the same hospital they went through, because then I got to release a lot of old grief and hurts about what they went through and realize that that's not me. That's not my journey. That was theirs. So all the time when you're going through your health journey, if emotions come up, create some time for them, because it's a really important space to start seeing what are your feelings about your life, your capacity to enjoy it and to have that life that you want. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best in health. I'll be sharing some more videos about wealth and relationships in the coming weeks, and I look forward to hearing from you and seeing how you're going with your journeys as well.